bing, bing, bing. And you go, ooh. I'm balling.
Good evening and welcome to Revved Up and Relived on the Spirit of Motorsport TV. What do you think of that very fancy pants opening titles, hey? Aidan, our producer, has done an amazing job. Welcome, guys. Thank you for being patient with us. Remember, this is a live interactive show. We do apologize for the slight delay. We had some technical issues and we had to wait until the great Chrissy Rouse had got into the circuit in Alton Park before we could go live. So welcome. Remember, this is interactive. So send your comments, fire your questions our way. If there's anything you want to touch on, you want to hear more of that we might speak about over the next hour, feel free to share it and we'll do our very best to answer it. All right. So remember also, we've done God knows how many shows now, 20 plus shows, and they're all available for replay. So you can go back onto our YouTube channel, you can subscribe and you can watch them as many times over as you like. Also, make sure that you're joining our Facebook community, sharing it with your friends, liking it, and bring them on here and join them in the show. Remembering that you can join us in this virtual studio setup. If you see any of your heroes that are going to be joining us in the studio, you can join them and you can ask them a question. So you just need to send us a message, let us know you're interested, and we can get you set up in the studio for future programs. All right. So without further ado, we are going to invite the great Chrissy Rouse into the studio this evening. Chrissy has just arrived at Alton Park for the BSB weekend. This weekend, he will be racing with, of course, Crow Performance on the BMW Superstock. Chrissy's had quite the start to this season. He took a win in the first race. Might have had a bit of a sketchy start in the beginning, but he took that win, and it was an incredible start to the season, considering he might not have even had a ride 3 weeks before. Chrissy is here to explain it all and share some of his stories, hopefully from the season so far and moving forwards. Chrissy Rouse, welcome back to the studio.
Hello, thanks. Sorry for causing such a delay. I've had a bit of a nightmare getting here with my van wasn't running too good, so I had to stop and unplug I think it's like the inlet air inlets something, and because it was running in limp mode. And then when I got to the track, the signal here is terrible, so I do apologize, but thanks for waiting.
No, of course we had to wait, and we appreciate you taking some time out, because obviously you just want to get to the team now and get talking racing and talking Alton Park. So we're stealing you for the next hour, so we really do appreciate that. Brilliant, Chrissy. So start to the season has been quite an exciting one.
Yeah, well, the very start of this season, so back in March, it actually started off as a bit of a disaster, and I had going back to October, I had an operation on my shoulder, and so I spent the full winter like doing rehab and getting ready for the season, and then I had a little crash over in Cartagena. And at the time, I didn't realise it was a serious injury, but I'd actually caused quite some damage to my shoulder socket. And it meant that when I got home, I had to go straight to hospital and get an operation like the next day. I can't tell you how lucky I was with my timing, because I think it was 3 days before we went into lockdown, and they probably wouldn't be doing surgeries like that after. So I was like right on the borderline. And obviously that also coincided with the fact that the race season got postponed. So when I actually had my operation, I knew I was going to be out until, like a good few months. And then, like I said, a few days later, it got announced that nobody was going to be racing for the next few months. So, just timing wise, it was ridiculous.
You're like, thank you, COVID. Well, so you recovered. They announced the new calendar, right? And then what the bloody hell happened?
Yeah, so along with the whole COVID thing, the team I was riding for, MSS Kawasaki, actually lost. They basically had to pull out from the season due to the way COVID had affected the sponsor and like the business or whatever. So I was actually left without a ride at first. So during like being injured and stuff, I obviously got on the phone and was trying to sort things out. And I spoke to a guy called Gabriel, who is partners in Crow Performance, and so they have like a BMW. It's not specifically BMW; they specialise in BMWs, but they have a bike sort of preparation and parts, like sort of place in Lincolnshire. And Gabriel actually had a bike it wasn't actually in Superstock spec as it was, but after a few phone calls, he was willing to get the bike into Superstock spec, and managed to do a deal. And then from then I sort of rang around, all my personal sponsors, and because at the time I'd obviously spoke to them all and sort of said everything's on hold for now. We didn't even know if we were going to be racing or not. But then when we got the green light to go ahead, sort of got in touch with everyone that I knew, and sort of managed to scrape the budget together to make it all happen. And every sort of interview I get, like every time I get on TV and stuff, I'm always like thanking all the people that have contributed towards that. And I know it sounds a bit like everyone always just thanks the sponsors and stuff, but I really, really mean it. Without like so many small contributions, I wouldn't have made the grid this year. So it's been a good start to the season. Obviously we're exactly halfway through the season now, 3 rounds in. We've had 5 races. The first race of the season, again, you just can't write the drama up and down. The first race of the season, my bike actually had a mechanical on the grid. So got to the start line, red lights on. I was on the front row, and as the red lights came on, my bike stalled. So I was basically at that point I was kind of a sitting duck. So if the red lights had went out, I would have I would have just been sat on the front row, and you're virtually guaranteed to get hit. And by the time the lads from the back of the grid are getting up to speed, it's scary how fast they can get in such a short amount of time. So luckily I managed to delay the start, and they quickly checked my bike over, and I was allowed to start dead last. So it was kind of a bit of a disastrous start, but the main thing was that I did get to race, and I managed to get up to 5th, which was good points given the circumstances. But yeah, I managed to win the race the next day on the Sunday, and came away from the first round like joint leader of the championship. And then from then I've had a run of second places. So I was second at Snetterton, and then I took two second places at Silverstone. But it's a very tight championship. There's not much in it, and I'm really enjoying my racing. So with only 5 more races to go, it's all to play for.
And how's the bike feeling?
Great. We didn't have the luxury of going to Spain and with it being all last minute. But as soon as I knew what I was doing, I just booked a lot of sort of UK track days and club racing, and it wasn't in the past when I've went testing with teams and stuff. It's it's very much like someone's just warming the bike, like throwing tires at it, things. But it was very low key. We're just sort of turning up. The first 3 days I had on the bike, I used the same set of scrub tires, but it was all about just getting to know the characteristics of the bike, where we were with this, the settings. And it was funny, when I first rode the bike, I didn't have any sort of complaints. There was no sort of weak points of it. The only thing was I couldn't get the bike to slide, and no matter what I did, I just couldn't. I purposely wasn't changing the rear tire because I wanted to get that feeling of like losing traction and being able to sort of play with it, and I just could not do it. And with the electronics on the bike, the way they worked, they were looking after the tire so well that it just wasn't allowing it to dig in and sort of get that extra bit grip and spin and slide. But with a few alterations to both the chassis and would change the traction control settings. Once I got that feeling, it's very much we've been the ballpark figure setup wise, we've kind of just left it as it is, and we're not really changing it much from track to track. I think we've changed the gearing once all year, and that's about it. We haven't really touched the suspension. It's just if I'm not using all the travel, I'm just braking harder to try and make up for it. And it's it's a very, nice bike to ride. The biggest thing that I've been impressed with was the electronics. The actual out and out speed of the bike is compared to, like, I think all the Superstock 1000 bikes are around the same sort of horsepower, same sort of speed, but I think the advantage of the BMW is using the electronics. There's lots to be gained from that, and that's where I feel like we've sort of made the biggest progress.
You got the incredible Piggy taking care of you as well, of course.
Yeah, it's funny. I've just got here, and you have to get, like, basically positioned in the paddock. So I got down there, and it was literally 2 minutes till this interview. So I seen Piggy, and I just shouted at him, threw my keys at him, and just ran up to get some Wi-Fi up here. I'm just up by the cafe for people that know where.
Look at that, stunning.
Yeah, nice sunset.
Gorgeous. So I'm just going to share some comments with you, Chrissy. We've got John Kashirski all the way over from the US, who's a super fan of Spirit Motorsport TV. He's saying hello to you. And he's also asking, how are you finding adjusting to the short season?
Yeah, it's been fine. Obviously, it's very full on. So from the beginning of the season, it's every 2 weeks. And at the start of the season, I was also riding in between times, like on the weekend in between. So the first few weekends were like, it was literally just, I was spending more time in my trailer, like away from home, than what I was at home. But it's sort of settled down a little bit now, and once every 2 weeks, I would say, is about perfect. It gives you just enough time to get home and regather. But it's it's plenty of racing, and also most weekends we'll have two races, which is good. So we'll get one on Saturday, one on Sunday. So yeah, I'm finding it absolutely fine. But I suppose it does put the teams under a lot of pressure. Especially when things start to go wrong mechanically. There's not a great deal of time in between to sort of test and try things, but yeah, managing absolutely fine.
Awesome. And keep your camera as still as we can so we can see that wonderful face of yours. So we've got Mr. McNabb, Rich McNabb, saying came second in the M1 drag race too, mate. You're going to tell us more about that?
Yeah, I think it was last week I was driving I can't remember if it was up or down the M1, but Richard came past with his trailer, and I got a message straight away to say like something like about the only time he'll be overtaken is or something. So.
Brilliant. And we've got Roy Moore on here saying hello from the Isle of Man. Awesome. Okay, great. So I just want to move on a little bit. So we've touched on your crew, Chrissy. I just want to mention what happened in Silverstone and how incredible they were. So you've touched on how there was a bit of drama in the season, but that Sunday morning at Silverstone was a little bit intense for you and the team. So tell us what happened.
Yeah, very much so. So for those that don't know, before a race, you get like a little, I think it's an 8-minute warm-up. And after doing, I'd done about 5 or 6 laps. It was probably the lap before the end of the session, and I went into a corner, and the bike just kind of like locked up a little bit, but more like sort of backing in. But the way we've got the engine braking set up, I knew it shouldn't have backed in to that corner. So I thought that was a bit weird, but I turned my engine braking down a little bit, and then I went into the next corner, and it locked up even more, and then it just dropped power and started making a funny noise. So straight away I was looking to come in, and I pulled the clutch in, and the bike just died straight away. So I pulled off track, pushed it back to the pits, and straight away Phil Crow, who's like the lead, the team, I don't know what you would call him, like the team manager.
Principal, would he be called the principal? Yeah.
So he's the brains of the team. He took a look at it straight away and just said, "This is serious. Like we need to change engines." So we had a few hours to do it, and it was very much like all hands on deck. Everyone chipped in. One of my sponsors this year, Alan Towell, was there supporting us, and he straight away got his hands dirty. And Piggy, Andrew Lund, and then I'm not very technical, so or very, very mechanical, should I say? So I was doing what I could, but my capabilities pretty much extend to like taking fairings off and taking punks off. I'm not very good with anything mechanical. So yeah, we all did what we could, getting part, and Gabriel was there, sourcing things, and it was just a case of getting it done as quickly as we could, and we managed to get the bike on the dyno before the race started, just to make sure there was no like problems with it. And yeah, managed to get out and race, and I finished second again in that one, but it's like less than a tenth of a second off the win, so close. But again, adding to the drama of that weekend, I also had what turned out to be an oil leak during the race. Obviously, when you race and you don't really know what's going on, and sometimes you might like hear a rattle, or your foot might slip off or whatever. I've had it before where I've polished my boots before and my foot started slipping off, and I've pulled into pit lane and been like something's leaking, and it's just been something on my boot. So I wasn't sure what it was, but I just rode through it. And when I finished the race, it was obvious that it was a decent oil leak on the right hand side of the bike. So again, I was incredibly lucky to not only finish the race, but to not get black flagged, or not to cause an accident, which would have been a disaster. So yeah, I was very lucky there again. But obviously getting the 20 points for the championship was huge, and there's only 6 points between me and Tom. So 6 points between me and Tom, and then there's not a great deal of points behind as well. And there's some fantastic riders in the Superstock 1000 Championship. So every weekend you sort of don't know who's going to be winning, who's going to be scoring good points. So you just have to do the best job you can every time, every race, and hopefully the sort of championship will look after itself.
And then you have to leave a racetrack, and when you leave a racetrack, you got to get back to business on a Monday at school. You got to get that suit back on and put your maths teacher hat on. How is that transition to you? It's a real grounding method, I suppose, isn't it? Keeping you humble.
Yeah, definitely that. Yeah, no, I really enjoy my job. It's something totally different to obviously racing and the sort of the speed and the thrill of racing, but I find it very rewarding. It's obviously a difficult job. At teaching quite a the catchment area of the school includes lots of deprived areas, so it's not easy, but yeah, I enjoy the challenge, and hopefully I can kind of be a good role model for lots of kids. And even if I just help 1 or 2 kids, then it's kind of a good job. But yeah, it's a big school. There's I've got 6 classes of around 30, so 180 kids, and
wow.
Yeah, it's nice to try and help the younger generation.
What's the age that you're teaching?
So it's just a secondary school, so the kids come in when they're 11-year-old, and they leave when they're 18. Okay.
Wow. Gosh, brilliant. Love that. So what do they think of Mr. Rouse being a motorbike rider?
You'd have to ask them, really. I don't know.
Have they any idea?
It depends what class you ask. But I'm not sure. Obviously, it's the start of a new year, so I've sort of just met a lot of my new classes ready for this year, and last year was my first year teaching, and obviously it got cut short with the whole coronavirus thing. So it'll be nice to. I really enjoyed getting back to work and sort of getting back into a routine. It's obviously very different with the COVID restrictions at the moment, but I think the kids are coping very well, and even the kids that don't really like school that much, I think they're pleased to be back in a routine, and yeah, hopefully get back to some learning.
Well, you must be the fastest maths teacher on the planet, I think. I'm just going to share a couple more comments from, we've got John Moyer. Tell us how you got involved with Dom and chasing the racing. We're going to come back to that. Stephen Cole says, considering how short the season is, does Chrissy have some kind of strategy, i.e. not crash? Well, that would be one. Do you have any kind of strategy, Chrissy, moving forward now into the rest of the season?
Obviously, there's only 5 races left, so it's kind of, if it was a normal season, 5 races to go would be like more than halfway through, and at that point, it starts to become you're kind of calculating the points all the time, and everything's calculated risks. So you've kind of got the championship in the back of my mind, but obviously I'm just focused on just scoring good strong points every time I get out on the bike. Obviously, staying on, and it goes without saying, the high up you can finish, the better. But I guess my goal is obviously to win the championship. So anything that I can do. Anything I can do that will help that, like I'll obviously be trying, but it's all calculated risks, and I'm kind of looking around at who's in the championship, who's around us, who I need to be beaten, and taking as little risks as possible to do that.
Checking into that old maths mindset, hey, it's helping you moving forward in your racing as well.
I'm not sure about that.
Gerard O'Mara says, Chrissy, did you ever try a Barocca and vodka?
No, I don't drink. I don't drink
alcohol. Okay.
I'm teetotal, so I've never tried a Barocca and vodka.
I thought that was an in joke. And who won Archer says, do the children know you ride and how good you are? I'm sure they got an idea, but they probably don't want to make you think that they think you're that cool. Probably is the idea, isn't it?
Probably. In fact, one of my new classes the other day, one of the kids actually said, really sort of chuffed a bit, told us that the dad watches us on TV. So
really?
That was pretty cool. But I very much keep it's nice to sort of keep the racing and the work separate. So I kind of do my best just to, when I'm at work, it's all about, the kids and trying to help them. And then on weekends, it's about going as fast as I can, and I keeping it separate. There was one time where I was at a parents' evening, and the dad was like really into bikes, and I was trying to tell him about how the child was doing, and he really just wanted to ask questions about how the racing was going, which was funny. But yeah, I'm not sure. Most of the kids probably don't know how to race.
We've got Mike Kenny here saying, you're doing a grand job in the stock though, Chrissy. I've got you down for the championship win. I love the steak from your sponsor. Any chance they will do the VIP tickets next year? That's from Mike Kenny.
The steak. So that was with my old team. That was all through Massingbird Monday. I actually bought a few steak boxes myself to get the tickets, because they ran a competition where you could buy a box of steak, which was I think it was £80 for 10 steaks, but they're like really good quality grass-fed beef, and with that you got 2 hospitality tickets. So even just the hospitality tickets alone, it was worth getting the steak boxes. So I bought a few myself, but unfortunately that was the team that pulled out with the COVID. So you never know. Hopefully they'll get something sorted for next year. But in terms of the hospitality thing, I'll see if I can do whatever happens next year. I'll see if I can do my own sort of. My mom's a good cake maker. I'll see if I can do some hospitality.
So talking about your family, you've had Grace there with you at the racetrack. She's done some social media for you. That's right. Was she at Donington with you when you won?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So my little sister, she's she's at school at the moment. She's 14, and I've been training her up on. Well, I'm saying training her up. She's better than me at all. But with the podcast, we've started video on the podcast. So I pay my little sister to do all the editing the videos, which is getting really good at. And then I've also been. She's also been helping us with my social media on race weekends. So obviously we've got so much to think about and focus on over the race weekend. It's nice to just pass it on to someone, and I think she's been doing a great job, bless her.
So I might have got in touch with her to maybe get 1 or 2 photos of you, and she was very kind in supplying 1 or 2 photos.
Oh, really?
So how cute is this? How old are you there?
That was 2014. So it'd be 19. That's actually that's a really funny story, because I'd been racing out in Portimao, and Grace came out for the weekend, and both my mum's really good at doing like hairs and stuff, and my older sister Katie, her business is called Keep It Pinned, and she does pin-up like hairstyles for like weddings and stuff. So my little sister Grace has always had amazing hair for school and whatever. And that was the first time she came away for the weekend with just me and my dad. And her hair, or in fact, she might have came for a week, and her hair was just a state all the time. You can see it there, and because obviously me and my dad are useless at doing hairs, and but that was, I think, our flight was really early that morning, so I didn't actually go to bed after the racing on the Sunday. I just went out with the World Superbikes that have like after sort of parties down by the beach. So that picture there, I'd raced on the Sunday, then I'd been up all night, and then drove straight to the airport, and that was on the plane with my sister. But yeah, I was 19 there, so Grace would have been 9.
Oh, ridiculously cute. So just want to touch on a couple of comments here, Chrissy. We've got Anne Height saying, did you enjoy the endurance races, and would you do more of AST?
Yeah, so as part of my testing this year, I've been doing no limits endurance. They've been absolutely perfect for track time, and for like, you know, getting the settings for the bike. Just little things like the gearing, even just brake markers and things. It means when you come to a BSB weekend, you're much sharper straight away. And with it being an endurance, you also get plenty of times to, like, you know, change the bike and set up and stuff. So absolutely love doing them. I've done 2 this year. I did one with Dom and Mike Norbury down at Snetterton, which we came second at, and then I did another one with Ian Hutchinson and Josh Daly here at Oldham Park, and we finished second on that one as well. So yeah, absolutely really enjoyed it.
You like that second place, don't you?
I know. Hopefully I won't be taking it in the championship. That's the main.
No, absolutely not. So, Chrissy, what age did you get into racing then? How young were you when you first started racing? Because we've got a great pic of you with a fantastic hairdo and gorgeous leather.
That's actually here at Oldham Park. Great. Yeah. So that was my first year in BSB in 2011. So I was racing for a guy called Steve Kinghorn, SGR Racing, and just British 125s. But by that time, I'd been racing a few years back in Thundersport. So I did 2 years of Super Teens before that, and then before that, I started on motocross, and then I did something called Metrokit 70. So I did that for a year, Super Teens, and then that picture there.
It's a cracker. So glad Grace got back to me. So also, before you got into racing, I hear that you dabbled in 1 or 2 other careers before you decided on maths teacher. So was it lifeguarding was another one?
Have you got a picture? Yeah, it's that was Cadwell Park for the CJ Riders Fund. They do the charity cycle. And yeah, I've just sold that costume actually on eBay.
Have you? Why would you get rid of that costume? It's one of the best costumes I've ever seen. Awesome, love it. So it must be special to have Gracie with you at the track, and also Dad comes along with you as well.
Yeah, my whole family comes. My mum, Dad. Yeah. Grace, well, obviously when they can with work and stuff, and my older sister Katie comes when she can. She's got a little daughter Betsy. She's loves the racing, and like I spend a lot of time with her and stuff. So yeah, I think they're coming this weekend actually. But yeah, we try to make it a bit of a family do. Over the years, obviously a lot of sacrifice and a lot of pretty much all my family focus has been on racing, which has obviously resulted in the fact like my sisters haven't had as many like holidays as what they would usually. But I guess instead of like having, you know, a few weeks somewhere exotic, they get lots of weekends at like Cadwell Park, Oldham Park, Snetterton. But yeah,
all those glamorous locations. I
think for a lot of people in the paddock, it's the same. It's you kind of, once you're into the race, and it's very full on, not just for the rider but for the whole family. And yeah, it's nice. It's really nice to see my sister getting like a friendship group as well, because I remember coming to BSB when I was similar sort of age to Grace, and it's like going out in big groups and kind of meeting people from all over the country, and it's really nice that she's now doing that, and she's got her own sort of friendship group, and it's it's really nice to see.
Brilliant. I love it. I'm just going to share a couple more comments. We've got Linny Ritzy saying, good luck this weekend, Chrissy. We've got a couple of questions here for the podcast. John Kashirski says, best of luck this weekend, Chrissy. He'll be watching on Eurosport 2 in America. And Bazzaby was saying it was a costume at Cadwell. Costume. Yeah. Yes, Bazzaby, it was. Great. Okay. So in 2013, Chrissy, we found a picture of you. You mentioned No Limits earlier, and you were training an ex-soldier, and we thought it was an incredible story that we wanted to shine a light on. So the guy was called Murray, is that right?
Yeah, Murray. Yes. So Murray still races he's in the Ducati tri-options now, but at that time, Murray was doing the same championship as me, the Triumph Triple Challenge, and he was a war veteran. He wasn't actually racing before his injury, but he had both of his legs blown off in a car-side bomb at in like Afghanistan, I think it was, which left him with I think it's just under the knee on both legs. And then he got himself back fit and started racing motorcycles and doing obviously to race at BSB. It would be phenomenal as a fully like a full body abled person, but the fact he was doing it with such a disability was incredible. And that year actually, it was funny. BBC were doing a documentary on him, so they came to, I think that picture was at Snetterton, but I went down and gave him a hand at Cadwell one day, doing a bit of coaching, and the BBC did like a bit of an interview and stuff, and they told us when it was going to be on. So obviously I messaged all my friends and said, right, like 12 p.m. on this day or whatever it was, watch this program, and we'll watch the whole thing. And they just skipped mine.
Oh, no.
But,
how rude.
Yeah, but Murray is an incredibly inspirational person. His outlook on life from what he's been through is unbelievable. And like I say, he still races now. He's really into his fitness. If you're interested, he's got an Instagram, Murray Hambro, and he's always doing like crazy things. And he makes you think, it's very easy to have an excuse like not to do stuff, to not go on a run, to not go to the gym. And when you look at what he's doing with his disability, it really sort of gives you a hoof up the backside to do something yourself. But yeah, he's such a cool person, and what he's been through, not just with his legs, but in his life is unbelievable. And the way he gets through it, and is such a I can't like big him up enough. He's such an inspirational person.
True heroes, aren't they? I met some of the guys when I was at Silverstone when you were racing the other week, the True Heroes racing team, and some of the guys there and the stories they have to tell and what they battle through and what they're doing. It's just incredible, isn't it?
It is.
Absolute warriors.
It's great that they can have it, and it's not just at the BSB. There's also when you go to the No Limits, there's like a huge army team and there's a huge RAF team. So it's great to see this sort of service men and women are involved with the racing and getting some enjoyment out of it.
Fantastic. All right, we've got a couple more comments, Chrissy. But first of all, I just want to remind you all, this is interactive. Keep firing your questions our way in your comments. Remember to share this, like it, subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. That's going to help us grow and produce more content for you. We've got Craig Stat here. Good luck, bud. Bring it home to the Northeast, lad. I can't say that in an accent. I wish I could. Stephen Cole says, has Chrissy given Tom Ward any tips on riding the Superbike this year?
He probably doesn't want any tips off me. Tom was supposed to be my teammate this year in the Superstock effort with Kawasaki, but he actually had a motocross crash and injured himself at the beginning of the season. So he missed the start of the season, but an opportunity arose with the Bike Devil Kawasaki team in Superbikes, and he's been doing a great job. I get out to watch a lot of the Superbike sessions, and he's riding really, really well, making good progress. And I don't think he needs any advice from me. He's doing a sterling job.
And we've got Mark Reynolds saying, Phil Crowe has clearly built you a good, strong, competitive bike, and you clearly getting the best out of it. What positives have you taken from working alongside him? It's a great question.
Yeah. So Phil, I think in Superstock, a lot of people ask about bikes, and I honestly believe that most the parity amongst manufacturers for the Superstock rules is very well managed. I think the advantage that you get is with your team. So I think a good team could get the best out of any bike, and I believe with the resources that we have, Phil gets the very best out of the BMWs. Obviously, we're competing against some very big teams, very well financed teams, and we're clearly doing like a good job. The fact that Phil not only it's like his team, but the fact he rides and he pushes the bike so hard himself. It's funny, even though we're totally different body types, body sizes, our settings are usually relatively similar in terms of what we're like, from like the throttle, from the engine brake, and from the chassis. So it's funny that we're very regularly come to like the same conclusion from testing things. But yeah, like, I mean, Phil was out this weekend at Cadwell Park. We've had a few things that we've wanted to try with the bike, but it's difficult. It's a big risk, you know, to come to a BSB meeting and try something different when it was, you know, when I was like less than 10th off the win last week. So it almost, you don't really want to change too much, but it's great having Phil going out in between the races. And for example, last week we really wanted to try something with engine braking, so he went to Cadwell Park and he was lapping pretty much the same lap times as what I would be doing there, like sort of in the 29s. So really getting the most out of the bike. And he then feeds me back information, what worked, what didn't, and it just gives me the heads up going into the races to try things myself. So yeah, I kind of thank Phil enough for what he's doing for us. And you know, with racing, things do go wrong, and obviously we had that problem last week. And the way he remains so calm under pressure, and that group of people has never changed an engine before, in terms of like that group together. Individually, obviously they've all done various, you know, work on bikes, but it was the first time that on the BM Gen 4 bike that we had to do that, and that can very easily be a recipe for disaster, like trying to do something like that under pressure. But Phil kind of led the change and just was very calm and just, you know, delegated tasks out, and it was done like miles in time. So yeah, he's a mega person to ride for. Not only myself, but my teammate Matt's doing a fantastic job this year, and yeah, there's a very positive atmosphere in the camp. And you've got to give credit to Phil for that. Phil was going to be doing a bit of racing this year, but he kind of took a back step to put his full effort into myself and Matt, and like help us get the best out of the bikes. So yeah, can't knock him for that.
Yeah, because before he got your phone call, he was going to be competing, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he was going to do at least a few rounds, but he was looking to do Macau, where I'm not sure if that's going ahead this year. So he was getting himself ready for that. But yeah, I'm not. He's been doing a little bit of racing, and he's been doing a few of those no limits things, and he was out, like I said, at the weekend at Cadwell, but he hasn't been doing any BSB. Haley, I will just say my phone's just pinged up that I've got 10% left. So
okay,
I will have plenty of time. But
okay, no problem. My light's gone as well. All my light's going. So I just want to touch now. We're going to move on, and this is the topic we're going to finish on, is Chasing the Racing podcast. I had a week traveling around loads last week saw you at Oliver's Mount. The week before I was at Silverstone. And what was keeping me sane on those journeys was so many of your podcasts. They're bloody fantastic. I love them. So tell us a bit about, we touched a little bit on a previous show, but please just remind us of how you and Dom came together and why you decided to start it.
Yeah, so me and Dom are both sponsored by a club called the North Yorkshire Road Racing Supporters Club. So it's a club that basically hosts chat show nights, and then all the money that's raised from people coming in and the raffle and stuff goes back to local riders. So it's like a way of sort of sponsoring local riders. And both me and Dom are from the same area, and we're both going to these clubs. And I think it was just from there. I listened to a lot of podcasts. My dad had been telling us for quite a while that he thinks I should do a podcast with Dom, and then eventually I just spoke to Dom about it and said, do you fancy it? And it started off very much like low key, just we were doing it at the house Dom's living at, and then over the course of the year it's kind of gathered momentum, and we've started to get a little bit of a fan base going and like regular listeners, and we'll run a thing on Patreon where it's like a sort of exclusive club, so people pay a little bit each month, and we'll do like Zoom calls and like quizzes, and they get early access to the podcast and things like that. And we've just done a deal with Colchester Kawasaki to be the title sponsor of the podcast. So yeah, it's going really well now. I really enjoy doing them, meeting loads of interesting people, and like going to people's houses and really getting to know people who I've looked up to for a long time. And yeah, I really, most of the time it's like the highlight of my week, just having, especially when you're busy at work and you're kind of maybe getting a bit stressed and stuff, it's really nice just to have a night of talking bikes with Dom.
Start says number one pod, agreed, and he also says the new improved Anton deck.
I don't know about that. But,
brilliant. So could you pick out, I'll ask you this, you don't have to answer it, but I'm going to fire it at you. Who's been your favorite guest so far? Because you've got quite a few 60 plus podcasts, have you? And how many have you done there?
Our latest one is episode 70. That's with Mick Grant we did down at Scarborough. I would say our best received podcast was definitely the Josh Brooks one. Josh hasn't really, or doesn't do a great deal of that type of thing. So to have the chance, it went on for like 3 hours, and to have the chance to like open up and talk about things, that went down really well, like on YouTube and audio. My favourite one, I would have to say, was probably the John. On the same weekend, we went to Jamie Whittam's house, like on the airfield. We went to Jack Burnacle's house down in Merseyside, and we went to John McGuinness's house in Morecambe, and we did all of them together. That was definitely the best trip we did. Especially getting to, I think, if pushing us for one, I would have to say going to John McGuinness's house, and Dom was like riding it round on his speedway bike, and we had like a full tour of the house, and looking at all of his bikes, and that as an overall podcast was fantastic.
It's the whole experience.
Yeah.
We've got a great question here from Tracy Dudley saying, if you could interview any rider, dead or alive, on Chasing the Racing, who would it be? Great question, Tracy.
Yeah, you'd have to say Barry Sheen, I think, for that one.
Yes, great one. Great. So moving forward, you and Dom are smashing it. So how many shows are you producing? Are you producing one a week, or how is it working out? What's the plans for the future with it?
Yeah, we're aiming for one a week. And the odd, I would say we average about 4 a month. So it usually works out at one a week. But now and again, with both of our schedules, sometimes Dom's like working over in Ireland or whatever. It's sometimes difficult because we do the podcast in person. So we'll obviously have to be both usually in the northeast to get one done. But yeah, we're aiming for one a week. And I'm not really sure about what the vision is. I'm really enjoying doing what we're doing at the moment, and it kind of just naturally evolving as time goes on. So I think we started out and we're sticking to around an hour quite religiously, and then over the last 10 episodes, whatever, we've kind of been much more relaxed on the time. Sometimes they are around an hour and a half, but sometimes, like I said, with the Josh Brooks one, went on for like 3 hours. So it's very sort of relaxed in that sense, and we'll just sort of see how the conversation pans out. But yeah, I guess just keep doing what we're doing. Since we've had a bit of a studio made, which is a trailer. So getting to go to the guests with that, I think that's been an improvement. And just getting good, interesting guests. I think a lot of the time, the second time we'll get the guests on, it's the first time is very much like going through their career year by year and asking, the sort of normal questions that you would get into. Where I think when guests have come on for the second time, it's almost like they're co-hosting the show, and we're just kind of talking about things that are happening like this year and like opinions on things. So yeah, I think I'm not really sure about long-term future, but we'll just keep doing what we're doing for the time being, I think.
Great. Well, I'm excited to see where it goes. I think it's frigging fantastic, and I'm grateful for it last week. Definitely, it kept me sane on all my drive and trips.
On that topic, then, what's been your favourite interview so far?
I love the Josh Brooks one. That was really good. But I love the Mackenzie boys.
Yeah,
that was good fun. Yeah, that was really good fun. Right, so moving forwards then. So before I let you go into the weekend, so Alton Park, how do you think you're going to do? How's the track going to be for you, do you think, for you and the team?
It's we'll find out after free practice. You really see where you are, but every track we've been to this year, I've been qualified on the front road every round, and I've been on the other than the race that I had to start last, where I finished 5th. Every other race I've finished either 1st or 2nd. So obviously that in itself sort of brings an expectation, and I expect a lot out of myself. So it's very difficult to say exactly where I'm going to finish, because that's not purely in my control. For all I know, somebody else could raise their game massively and beat me. But as long as I just do, I know what I can do around here in terms of lap times and the sort of pace I can run. So if I can do that, I'm sure it'll be somewhere near the front. And then it comes down to a bit of a game of chess and who can be smartest. And I'll do my best. Ideally, obviously, I would like to take 2 wins this weekend. But if that's not possible, then if it's a win in a second or 2 seconds or whatever it is. But yeah, obviously, to be as high up as I can is the goal.
Okay. And final question from the followers. We've got Hewlin Archers asking, how are you likely to stay with Crow Racing next season, as you seem to have really gelled well with the BMW?
Yeah, I'm absolutely loving this year and being on the BMW with the team. But at the end of the day, my aspirations really are to go to Superbikes, and this year it's very much been a case of, like I said earlier, kind of everybody helping out and calling on lots of personal sponsors to be covering my tires at each round and to be my fuel, and it's been a combined effort. Where obviously in Superbikes the financial elements are much bigger, and really established teams who have got everything sorted. It would be ideal to get an opportunity really with an established team. But we'll just have to see where we are at the end of the season, and I need to obviously be speaking to people and seeing what's available. But if my absolute ideal would be if we could have a big sponsor come on board with Crow Performance. I think we've shown this year what a good job we can do, and what a lovely bunch of people it is. The absolute ideal would obviously be to get a big corporate sponsor, and maybe to go up to Superbikes with Phil and the team. That would be the sort of goal. But you've got to be realistic, and in the economic climate that we're in, sponsorship's going to be very difficult to come by. So I guess it'll just be a case of see what my options are for next year, and hopefully make a wise decision in whichever route I take. But yeah, ideally, my goal is to be in Superbikes.
I've got one more question I have to just share. Sorry, Stephen Cole. Is Chrissy using Hutchie's used brake pads this weekend?
I'm not. I'm on new brake pads this year, which is costing us a fortune. They're like over 200, and you're on new brake pads like each meeting. So even just that, if you think is a lot of money, but that question comes from my first year on Superstock, my first and second year actually on Superstock. Budget was like really tight, and we used to buy secondhand brake pads from. So like Ian Hutchinson would use his brake pads for like not very long, maybe like a one race or whatever, and then these brake pads that are like 300 quid, we would buy them for like 20 quid or whatever, and then I would use them. But obviously there came a point where I was kind of battling with Hutchie and beating him sometimes, but he probably didn't realise that I was actually on his own pads at the time.
Brilliant. Right, Chrissy, listen, I'm going to let you go and charge your phone. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. It's pretty exciting, and watching you work your way through that track and in the championship this year. So I'm really excited to see where you take the rest of the season, and also what you and Dom do with Chasing the Racing podcast, because it's really fantastic. Thanks again for your time. Best of luck this weekend, and we'll see you again very soon. I'll see you at Donington, actually.
Fabulous. Thanks so much, Hayley.
Take care. See you later, Chrissy. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you so much for your patience, for your interaction, your questions. Feel free to share this with any of your friends that you know that will enjoy it. Make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll keep you updated of all of the stuff and content that we've got coming up. Thank you once again. I'm Hayley Coxon. This is Revved Up and Relived on the Spirit of Motorsport TV.
Ring, 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 ring. You go, ooh. A ball.